Welcome to all my fantasy football friends. This is Dynasty 365. I'm your host, Chris Burns. And with me, I got my buddy Tyler Howell and Rich Sickles, my partners in crime tonight. But our very special guest is a titan in the fantasy football industry, the Roto Buzz guy himself, Mr. Howard Bender from the Fantasy Alarm. Tonight, we'll discuss potential trade targets at the QB position as well as the tight end positions. My man Tyler, cue the music. Welcome, Howard. Mr. Bender, he is the head of content at Fantasy Alarm. He's a writer of love letters, hosts the Fantasy Alarm show on Sirius XM Fantasy Radio. He's a fish fanatic and just an all-around good dude. Mr. Bender, welcome to the show. So happy to have you.
Well, thank you so much, man. Pleasure to be able to do this show with you guys. Thank you so much for the invites. You know, the whole Fantasy and Frames family. Absolutely love it. So getting the chance to chop it up with you guys here, talk a little Dynasty Fantasy Football. That's what it's all about, man. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So glad to have you here, So let's go ahead and start off. Breaking news. Some things have gone down. I know the Rashee Rice, there's been a little bit of talk about his troubles going so far. The Kyren Williams. Anything anybody really want to talk about for breaking news tonight?
Go ahead, Howard.
All right, then. Take it over. That's it. My show. I've been doing, you guys know Andrew Cooper. He and I have been doing some best ball drafts every Wednesday. The Kyren Williams news to me is probably the biggest right now, especially with, what people are doing as far as rookie drafts that are still going on right now. Because what I've seen right now is that, Kyren Williams, who is not going to participate in any activities over the summer here until probably like later on into camp when he's ready to go. So no spring activities here. I think what's going on is what we're going to see is Kyren Williams. Like, people have been sour on him anyway. Undrafted free agent. And, he's always hurt all the time. We hear the same stuff over and over again. And so I think his ADP, we're going to start seeing that dropping. Simultaneously, the Blake Corum love is going to shoot way to the top. And I think that, I'm not going to say that people are going to overdraft Corum too much, but I think that the expectations of what Blake Corum is going to do is probably a little on the high side right now, because if Kyren Williams plays the entire season, or let's say he misses 3 or 4 games, that's still going to be better than I'm sure of, like 85% of the running backs out there right now. I think that Kyren Williams can still finish as a top 10 running back in this league, top 8 maybe even. So I think that the Blake Corum love is going to probably get a little too high. We'll shoot a little up. Great handcuff though.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I was just going to say I'm in a rookie draft right now, and the second the news dropped, Blake Corum was picked. Like within seconds.
Right.
So,
Well, yeah, Tyler, let me ask you, because I know that you think that Kyren is just a jag. So, does this worry you, or does it excite you about Corum, or how do you feel if you're like attacking dynasties right now?
It worries me a bit. One, because the shelf life on running backs is not overly long. 2, because we don't know what it is, right? We know it's a foot injury. Right. And we all know, like, if you hear something about a Jones fracture, then that's a problem. That can be a problem that can put him out for a year. That can drastically affect his production for a year. So, it need more information as of this moment, but I'm definitely concerned. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I didn't call Kyren Williams a jag.
Son of a...
I absolutely did, but he's a good fit for that Rams offense, and he does exactly what Sean McVay needs him to. And I think Blake Corum is kind of that dude that can do exactly that, but maybe at a higher level. We'll see.
But you're totally right about the fact that he doesn't know. We don't know what the injury is, because I'll tell you flat out, Jones fracture you can heal from. Right? It's going to take a little while, but you can heal from that. You tell me that he's dealing with plantar fasciitis. I'm out.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a chronic one. That thing's not just going to automatically heal.
Yeah. And Liz Frank, she's tough also, isn't she?
She's the worst. When she was dating Matt Shaw back in the day.
Oh, yeah. She just wouldn't leave him alone.
What a tramp.
So, Howard, if it comes out that the charges are dropped or a lot of them are dropped on Rashee Rice, does that change how you're looking at him this offseason?
Not really, because I mean, how many times have we seen football players act like stupid idiots and the suspensions always get limited? I think the fact that they bought off the guy who claimed that there was an issue at the club, and now all of a sudden he's like, oh no, just a misunderstanding, right? It was like that like when you're sitting there and you're like, I've got $200 in this hand and I don't even know what's in this hand. It doesn't even matter, right? So it's like, okay, now all of a sudden that's going to happen. I think we were looking at probably like a 4 to 6 game suspension if the NFL really wanted to crack down on him because of the incident with the cars, and then double downing on it by being a moron in a club. For sure could have been a 4 to 6 game suspension. Now that the club thing is behind and no charges are going to be filed, we're probably looking at like a 4 game suspension that'll get like pled down to 3.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you there. I really do. Like going into it, I thought it was going to be like a 4 game, come down. But I think you hit the nail on the head right there. Rich,
Yep.
are you going out and you're going to get Rashee now? You putting all your trades in for him?
No, I'm not putting any trades for him, but the places where I do have him, I've been holding on pretty tight. There was a moment there where I tried making a couple trades and to get back into some of the rookie drafts that I didn't have any picks in. And that just didn't pan out. And so I'm happy to just sit on them and wait and see what's going to happen next.
All right.
Yep.
Sounds good. I like it. All right. So now that we've covered the breaking news, we're going to get into the crux of our show tonight, which we're going to be talking about trade targets. And we're going to start with the quarterback position, and then we'll get to the tight end position a little bit later. But yeah, so for the quarterback targets, like for those that are contending in dynasties right now, and you're trying to get you a quarterback that can help get you over the top, what type of a quarterback or player are you targeted in that situation, Mr. Bender?
If I'm in a win now situation and my quarterback scenario is garbage, right, then I'm going to end up making a move for, I'll do an Aaron Rodgers, right? I mean, this is not just because I'm a Jets fan. I actually hate Aaron Rodgers. I really do. I just don't like the player. I didn't like the circus of him coming to the Jets and everything like that. Right. 4 primetime games last year, he goes down with an injury. And then the NFL's like, oh, man, we got the worst primetime schedule. So let's double down this year on him coming back from an Achilles tear. Right. And put him in 6 primetime games. What could possibly go wrong? But in Dynasty, if I'm in a win now situation, I don't want to have to pay. I don't want to have to pay for a CJ Stroud. I don't want to have to pay for a Jordan Love. Give me something old and broken. And let me just go for it right now. And then if not, then, if it doesn't work out for me, well, then I've got, quarterbacks are coming into the drafts next year. So I'm perfectly fine grabbing like Aaron Rodgers and just being like, screw it, man. Let me just go for the win right now.
I absolutely agree with you there. Let me ask you this. So DLF, they have Aaron Rodgers value somewhere around like the 303 or 304 in a 2024 rookie draft. You paying that for him?
Wait, Aaron Rodgers is the what?
Right. That's literally, I was just like,
it's trade value.
I was wondering.
It's trade value.
Oh, what'd he be worth? What'd he be worth? Yeah, I would. Oh, I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, I mean, listen, if I'm sitting there and I need that quarterback, I'll pay that 3rd round pick. I mean, let's face facts. Like, when we sit there, we know who the top guys are in any rookie draft, right? We know how that first 6 to 8 picks are probably going. After that, it definitely becomes a little bit more of a crapshoot. Some people are more into certain guys. Some people are, the people, it's always funny, right? The people who are like crazy, nuts over college football. And, I know that this guy's going to be great. And I know that guy's going to be great. That's cool. Let me scout. Let me figure out which players I like the most, and I'll worry about it that way. but anything that's coming in like, late second round, early third round pick is probably just as much of a crapshoot as a fifth round pick. You're swinging for the fences. You're hoping that something's going to hit, and you do it that way. So if it means getting me a quarterback who's going to carry me through this season, hopefully, I'll pay that third round pick. Absolutely.
Love it.
Yeah.
Rich, how about you? What kind of quarterback are you targeting in this situation?
Sure. So the quarterback that I'm targeting is no longer my own Kirk Cousins, moving off to Atlanta here.
Okay.
Right. No, it's all right. It's all right. I honestly, as a Vikings fan, I was very happy with him going to Atlanta. I wanted him to go to Atlanta because I figured if there's any place for him to go where he's going to succeed, that was going to be the place to go. Like the weapons that they have there between London, Pitts, and Bijan, like he should be able to run that offense very well, and he should be able to succeed. You look at his time as a starter since he became a starter back in 2015. He's been it was 2/3 of the time he's been a QB1, so a top 12 QB at least 2/3 of the time that he's been in the league since he's become a starter. So, and that's what you're looking for, is that one QB, some consistency at being a QB1 is something that I look for when I'm looking for a guy to help get me over the hump. And plus, I love his contract for the next few years. I feel like that really sets him up for a perfect championship window. I don't know. I think that he's sitting in a really good spot. I actually made a trade. I was interested to see what you all thought about the trade. I don't know if you saw it on Twitter when I posted it, but Sleeper actually retweeted it and everything. I don't know if you want to go into this, but
I want to hear it.
All right.
Me too.
I gave up Trevor Lawrence and JSN. I got Cousins, Kupp, Aaron Jones, and Ladd McConkey.
Cousins, Kupp, Aaron Jones, and Ladd McConkey.
Well, Rich,
It's okay. It's okay. I can take it.
I like Ladd McConkey. I mean, that's a swing for the fences right there, man.
Yeah.
You're getting two guys that are going to produce presumably at a very high level in 2023 in Aaron Jones and Kirk Cousins. I'm sorry, I'm not assuming Cooper Kupp is going to produce at a very high level in 2023.
That's fair.
And you gave up what is a struggling, but I still feel a top 10 quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. And remind me of the other person you gave up.
JSN.
That value is still a bit tenuous with that Seattle offense. The offense is changing quite a bit. I think they're going to get JSN involved a lot more. But if you're asking me to bet on who's going to produce at a higher level this year, between kind of the Aaron Jones, Kirk Cousins, and the Trevor Lawrence, and my God, I already forgot again.
JSN, Jackson Smith.
JSN. I'm going with the guys you acquired. So short-term gain for long-term loss. I can see what you were doing there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to hate on the deal because I get what Tyler's saying, that there could be more coming from Trevor Lawrence. It's just what we've seen right now. I mean, I genuinely took a step backwards last year, which I didn't even remotely understand. And, I think that, Lawrence was incredibly talented in college, and, he got a raw deal coming in as a pro, right? The whole, who's the idiot coach? What was
Urban Meyer?
Urban Meyer. Yeah. So the whole, and I gave him a mulligan for that, for the whole, all right. So Meyer's gone. Now he's got to learn a new offense and, do what he did with Doug Peterson. And that was great in that first year with Doug Peterson. And then all of a sudden he took a step back. I'm wondering, you call Kyron Williams a jag. I'm wondering if maybe Trevor Lawrence is too, at least at the NFL level.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence is Justin Fields with a better PR firm.
I mean, that's just me.
Are you guys trying to trigger me?
It's all love, Tyler. Tyler, as a matter of fact, you know what? I'm not trying to trick you, but why don't you tell me who you're targeting in this situation? Continue.
I've got two. I am going Matt Stafford, who's the man. He's still awesome. You know, I know that's very good analysis, but Matt Stafford is freaking awesome. He helped Puka Nacua have the greatest rookie receiver season in history, which was a whole lot of fun to watch. He is still playing at a very high level. I feel like the only reason Stafford's value has dropped is he still has the, can he make it through a full season thing? And, you know, he missed one game last year, and then he came back and reeled off 3 in a row, one of those wins being just a dismantling of the Browns defense, which was still on fire at the time. He's 36 years old. He just turned 36 in February. He's under contract. He still has all of the arm strength that you could ever ask a quarterback to have. And he has Sean McVay calling the plays and a rededication to the run game in Los Angeles. And that's just going to help his scoring production. So if I can get Matt Stafford for something like, I don't know, an early second, we can look at what the kind of the general value is for him right now. I'm doing that all day because, you know, you can call him injury prone all you want. He missed one game last year. He missed 8 the year before that. And then before that, he played 17. He played 16. He played 2 full seasons in a row. And Matt Stafford's one of the toughest MFers in the NFL. Like full stop. And guy played half a season with a broken back. So show me someone that can do that.
That clip of him with the dislocated shoulder playing through like that at the end of the game, that is one of my favorite all-time clips of all time. Sorry to cut you off, but yeah, love it.
It's okay. And side note, totally unrelated. If you think that Eli Manning should be in the Hall of Fame over Matthew Stafford, you can go jump off a bridge.
All right, I'll tell my wife not to watch this show now. Okay. The guy in the tank top says my wife is a loser.
Well, I'm glad I could keep your wife away from this.
You know what, though? I mean, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. I love Stafford. I think Stafford, the same people who tell you that they're not drafting Matthew Stafford because he's injury prone are the same people that every year say, I don't know why I didn't take Christian McCaffrey with the first pick. I don't know why I didn't do that. So you're in fine company. My wife doesn't know football. Come on, we know that.
That was close. My next guy, I threw this one in myself because I can't go in opportunity. I can't pass up an opportunity to talk about Baker Mayfield a little bit. He's not going for that much right now. I believe I just acquired him in a league I traded a first, a mid first, and I got back Baker Mayfield and an early second, both in 2024. So not horrible value there. Baker finishes the QB 10 last year. He was graded 20th in passing by PFF. So sounds about Baker, his first 3 years in Cleveland, he finishes the quarterback 16, 18, and 18. He just got signed by the Bucs to a nice 3-year, $100 million deal. Yes, he's losing his play caller, which is unfortunate, but he still has Mike Evans. He still has Chris Godwin. Again, another recommitment to the run game. And, I'm not expecting Baker to be a QB 10 when I acquire him. I'm not expecting last year again. What I am expecting is to get a mid-range to possibly even high-end QB2 for the next 5 years for cheap. And I can win with that.
Yeah.
I'm entirely okay with playing Baker in my super flex spot for the next half a decade.
I like it. Sounds good. All right. So You did mention, that Baker lost his play caller and everything, but that's not deterring you at all. So you're going full go on Baker for the next 5 years.
Let's go, baby. Baker is going to be a quarterback in this league for the next 5 years. I don't know if it's going to be in Tampa. He's going to start somewhere. He is not. He is definitively not in the top 20, and he is definitively not in the bottom 10. So, he's going to start.
If Bryce Young doesn't pan out in Carolina, you know that Canales is going to call for him, right? You know he's going to be like, Baker, come hang out with me. Because they're running it back in Tampa Bay, right? You got the same personnel. They promoted from within. So, they want to run pretty much the same scheme, or at least a similar scheme in Tampa to just kind of maintain that continuity. It's just when somebody tries to put their own spin on it or their own flair, sometimes it gets a little murky, but yeah.
Okay. Absolutely. So Howard, going to come back to you. We're going to start talking about rebuilding QB targets that you want in a dynasty. So if you're like at the bottom and you're trying to climb your way out, what type of quarterback are you targeting?
As if for trading purposes, if I'm
trading. Yeah, you're trading.
Assuming that the price on a CJ Stroud or a Jordan Love is way too high, the guy who I've been, and I saw it in your rundown here, but the guy who's, I've actually been championing, I'm just going to say that I agree 100% with what Rich has to say right now.
Oh,
well played. I take it you're also a fan of Will Levis.
I'm a fan of Rich Sickles. That's what I'm a fan.
There we go. Yeah, no, I've been very interested in Will Levis lately, honestly. He had one finish as a QB1, not a whole lot of starts, but he had that one finish as a QB1 in week 8 against Atlanta when it was his first game, which was pretty big. You don't expect the first game to come out shooting or blowing the doors off like that. Then what the Titans are doing to try to build around him with bringing, they got Hopkins, they brought in Ridley, they're trying to build something around him as far as having a decent offensive weapons for him, or set of defense or offensive weapons for him. I really like what he's got going on. He's got a lot to prove yet, though. I'll be honest. His 11.8 points per game last year, nothing to write home about, But at the same time, I still think that he's growing, and he got thrown into a kind of crappy situation right off the bat. So I'm interested to see where he goes with this year, knowing that he's the starter. I'm definitely trying to buy him. You're looking at a mid-second for him according to Dynasty League Football. So I'm willing to pay that mid-second, mid to late second for him.
Mid-second, I'd give that in a heartbeat. Absolutely. Just to pile on more of what Rich was saying. Listen, first and foremost, changing coordinator and coach and scheme and system here, and you're bringing in Brian Callahan, who just spent the last couple of years, I don't know, hanging out with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, those characters over there, and he's bringing this scheme over to Tennessee. Right? You add Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins is a stud. You bring in Tyler Boyd, probably one of the most productive slot receivers over the last 4 seasons, maybe. Tyler Boyd is just absolutely fantastic. And he's one of those guys who just always manages to be where he needs to be to get that first down, help move the chains. You throw in Chiga Okonkwo, a pass catching tight end who can also help, spread that defense, running a route, and you bring in a pass-catching running back in Tony Pollard. If you're not telling me that Will Levis isn't going to throw the ball 57 times a game, I'm going to tell you guys you're crazy because, and the beautiful thing about fantasy is, you look at a guy like Jameis Winston, right? He throws 3 picks a game and yet still manages to tear it up for you. I think with fewer interceptions than Jameis Winston, with the weapons that Will Levis has, I am 100% in on him and the Titans this year. So, ladies and gentlemen, Rich Sickles.
Yeah.
Give it up for the Will Levis call. 100%.
And at times, it seems like there's more organizational commitment to Will Levis than there is to Bryce Young. You know, they looked at exactly what was wrong last year. His completion percentage sucked. His 8-out was through the roof. He was 1.6 yards more than second place in the NFL on 8-out. He had an 11.2 8-out.
I love a guy with a big A dot. You know what I'm talking about? It's
Yeah,
like
that's right.
the top of a Gatorade container.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So how do you fix that? You know, you bring in guys like Tyler Boyd and Calvin Ridley. They're absolute salves to a mid-range passing game that didn't exist last year. You bring in another pass-catching running back, Tony Pollard, on top of your running back that can already catch passes with Tyjae Spears. So I'm completely on the same page with you, Howard, with he's going to throw the ball 5,700 times a game. They're going to run it here and there, and they're doing everything they can to make sure he succeeds. Oh, by the way, they drafted J.C. Latham, left tackle, in the top 10 of the NFL draft.
Oh, yeah. That guy.
I was gonna say, and they like their offseason moves. They beefed up that line a little bit to make it a little bit better. But Tyler, one pushback that I do have of what you said is like more of a commitment to Levis from Tennessee than what Carolina's given Bryce Young. I mean, look at Bryce Young, like, you know, ownership. I mean, Tepper has not put anything out there into ethos to make me think that this guy, you know, never mind. I'll get off that.
No, because you know what? I mean, you know, Tepper owns a soccer club too, and he's already fired coaches from that organization as well. The dude's a nut job. The dude is terrible. Like, you know, like that's the dude who needed to hire Belichick as like the go-between between ownership and the head coach. Like that buffer that keeps Dave Tepper like all the way aside somewhere. The dude is an a-hole and he's a moron. And he is. I mean, like he's the guy who's gonna draft a quarterback in the first round of every rookie dynasty draft until he gets it right, and he's never gonna get it right.
Yes, he is. You know, I used to give him a lot more credit, thinking that a multi-billionaire, like he can't just be this stupid when it comes to football operations and everything. But then I found out that he really is, and you know. Very poorly owned, and then just some of the things he's done, he's really alienating himself in the gracious of Charlotte and like the Carolinas. The whole thing, like building their practice facility and all this stuff, and how he just really screwed that community down there doing that, and just the things that he does. Like he sees a sign, so he pulls in and demands to speak to the manager. Like he throws a drink on somebody, but then he walks away before that person can retaliate. I mean, if you're gonna be ballsy enough to throw a drink in somebody's face, you know, like. Deal with the consequences. But I think he is so out of touch because he has so much money. And I think that is the biggest thing that hurt Bryce Young a little bit. Like Bryce Young last year, we talk about these quarterbacks that went into a bad situation. Bryce Young absolutely went to a bad situation. You know, so he was drafted by a team where the staff in place didn't want him. They wanted somebody else. But then the owner's like, we're going to do this and you're going to make him do stuff that he's not physically capable of doing because that's how David Tepper thinks. I can make Bryce Young grow 7 more inches and throw the ball 300 yards. That's what he thinks he can do because he tells him to do it. He comes into that team. So then all the chaos with ownership, the coaching staff gets fired. Everybody who didn't want Bryce Young drafted, they all get, you know, kicked out midseason. The offensive line was absolutely putrid. You go back and if you look at the all 22, you look at when he scrambled around trying to find somebody to throw the ball to, not a lot happening. Adam Thielen was the only saving grace. Miles Sanders did the best disappearing act I've seen in a long time by saying, like, you know what, guys, you know, Chuba Hubbard came in and did what he could. But everything about the Panthers last year was just bad vibes from the beginning, and it never got worse. And you look at Bryce Young, you're like, poor guy. But you look at it now, you know, like Howard had mentioned it earlier, and Tyler also, that Canales is now the head coach over there. So if he is the QB resurrector, like what he did with Baker Mayfield and what he did with Geno Smith, then it seemed like he's the right guy that can come in and install some confidence back in the young Bryce Young, who was beat down badly. And not only was he beat down, not only was the organization a dumpster fire, but he looks at the guy drafted behind him going out there and absolutely lighting it up. And everybody's like, see, told you he wasn't that. So he has to be better this year. He's the ADP for him is a QB 19. And that's probably close to where he'll finish. But I think that if he goes out there and he has like some type of success, some type of consistency, that he could move up to like that QB 15, QB 16 ish, range, which isn't so bad. But I think it's too early to call him a bust. But I feel bad for him. But if I'm rebuilding, he is somebody that I know I can get cheap because the Carolina Panthers aren't national focused because they've been so terrible. And everybody is all the way out on Bryce Young right now because of that putrid rookie season that he had, not paying attention to some of the external factors as to why it may have been so bad.
Yeah. And, I kind of mentioned the organizational buy-in on Will Levis versus Bryce Young. Reason I say that is, one, Rand Carthon drafted Will Levis. He is committed to him. And there's nobody in that building in Carolina committed to Bryce Young. They are committed to the value of the first overall pick. That's what they're committed to. So not to say that they didn't do anything, they didn't address their tackle situation, but they did throw a bunch of money at Damian Lewis and Robert Hunt, who aren't necessarily all-stars, but like they're starters. Mm-hmm. And God forbid you get a rush up the middle with 5'4" Bryce Young, not just standing on his tiptoes trying to see over the center. But they reinforced the interior of the pocket. They drafted Jonathan Brooks, so they're going to have a startable running back. They drafted Jatavian Sanders, who might do something this year. They traded back up into the first round to draft Xavier Legette. That wasn't my favorite move, but I don't have a crystal ball. Legette could be awesome. You never know. And they went and made a really good trade, what I thought was a really good trade, and acquired Deontay Johnson. Mm-hmm. So yeah. I feel like everything that everyone was saying last year that they were forcing it, like, yeah, they have Adam Thielen. They really set up Bryce Young to succeed. And then, turning around and kind of laughing under their hand. Like, I think they actually did that this year. They're giving him an opportunity to succeed. If he can finish in the top 20 quarterbacks, I think that's success.
I agree with that. Howard, I got a question for you.
Pretty low bar.
Did you see him play last season?
No, I just turned off the TV.
You're smarter than me. Like, yeah. Howard, do you think Brock Purdy is undervalued?
Well, I mean, that's a tough one here because I live out in the Bay Area. Right. And so out here, no, he is definitely overvalued. Like out here, like this guy is like he's like a god of quarterbacks. He's like, like the next Montana that nobody ever saw coming. Like the hype is just crazy. I think Brock Purdy is a very good, serviceable quarterback. He fits well with the weapons around him and the scheme that he is in. Could a nutless monkey quarterback the 49ers? Yeah, probably. I mean, Shanahan's just got it set up that well that he doesn't need to be a hero, right? He's got great weapons around him, great running game, great receiving targets. It's a phenomenal defense. So everything's kind of elevated here with San Francisco. So, I mean, for the time being right now, I will say that I do think that Brock Purdy is more of a system quarterback than really like what the talent level is. Put him somewhere else. Like, let me see what happens with how he develops. So I'm not gonna say he's just a guy because I'll leave that to Tyler. He can call him a jag. But yeah, I'm like whatever about Brock Purdy. I think he's good, but not freaking out.
Okay, Tyler. I mean, he put the ball in your court. I got to ask you, like, what do you think about Brock?
I think Brock is awesome, actually. I am all in on the value of Brock Purdy personally. Everything that he does, we saw Jimmy Garoppolo kind of have like some decent efficiency metrics when he was quarterbacking them at a high level, taking them to NFC championship games, things like that. Purdy's doing everything better. You've had, what's his name? Nate something that's been on every team in the NFL in the past 3 years. You had CJ Beathard that quarterbacked him. You know, they looked like passable, but they weren't a top 10 quarterback. Brock Purdy's a top 10 quarterback in every single metric you want to look at. I mean,
you're setting the bar low again here. Like, I mean, you're comparing him to Jimmy Garoppolo as the best QB the 49ers have had in how long? I mean, come on, man. I mean, that's not saying that Brock Purdy is the be-all, end-all here. You're just saying that he's doing better than the garbage that the 49ers have rolled out there for the last couple of years.
Nate Sudfeld is a saint.
Like, literally, did he get signed by the Saints? Is that
he's having a seafood dinner with Dorothy Mantooth right now? No.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy's a top 10 quarterback in every metric that you can possibly look at. Pressure to sack rate, ADOT, first downs, big time throw percentage, all of that. And, you know, listen, you're not going to find Patrick Mahomes under a rock, okay? If you have a top 10 quarterback that is taking you to Super Bowls and putting you in good positions to win Super Bowls as a second-year, almost undrafted player, then you pay that man and you let him carry that offense for a while because he's doing everything perfectly the way that Kyle Shanahan wants him to. So I don't see a reason for them to be like, well, you know, Brock Purdy's fine, but could we do better? Sure, you could always do better if you don't have Pat Mahomes, but why?
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate that. All right, so we're going to move on. Because Tyler, very impassioned about Brock Purdy. Definitely the antithesis of just the guy. Brock's, yeah. All right, anyhow. So we're going to move on to the tight end targets. And Howard, before you pass the baton to Coop, you know, I know that you were the tight end whisperer. So we're going to come to you first and ask you, so if you're contending, like in your dynasty leagues, what type of tight end are you targeting right now?
If I need help at the tight end position, I am going to trade some sort of a rookie pick to whomever for Hunter Henry. That's where I'm going. Like Hunter Henry for me, you know, and again, it's following what's going on. You know, you looked and saw what Alex Van Pelt did for David Njoku in Cleveland. And, you know, I mean, the quarterback issues that they had over there, it really came down to, you know, it was like, you can't say, oh, he did this great, you know, he gelled with Deshaun Watson. I mean, I don't think anybody gels with Deshaun Watson, but Alex Van Pelt knew that he had Amari Cooper and then a bunch of garbage at the wide receiver position. So he ended up, you know, he incorporated the tight end, which is something that Alex Van Pelt has always liked to do. And so now he goes to New England. And what do they have? What's their, you know, Demario Douglas, Kendrick Bourne. Like, I mean, you want to talk about a bunch of Jags as far as receivers go. Like that room is terrible, which tells me that, yeah, we'll see Drake May kind of lock in somewhere. But I think Alex Van Pelt is going to want Drake May to really rely on Hunter Henry, his tight end, kind of create that whole, that relationship that we saw with like CJ Stroud and Dalton Schultz, right? I mean, that right there is a great security blanket. So I think Hunter Henry is going to be that guy in New England. And I hate the Patriots more than anything, but I will definitely invest. I don't know what DLF has as far as like Hunter Henry's trade value. You know, if somebody says, give me a 4th round pick, yes, I will give you a 4th round pick. I don't care.
Absolutely.
You think the Patriots are going to start Drake May out of the gate?
I don't know. Probably not. They'll probably go with Jacoby Brissett to kind of start. And who did Alex Van Pelt have as a quarterback?
That was a top 10 quarterback for all metrics.
What's his ADOT look like?
It's not
is it like bigger than a baby's arm? Hunter Henry, guys. That's the guy. That's the whiskey.
Yeah.
Hunter.
You're looking at like a late 4th round pick for Hunter Henry.
Sold.
Yeah, take it. Yeah.
Sold. In a heartbeat.
Tyler, same question to you. What kind of tight end are you targeting right now if you're contending in a dynasty league?
Oh man, who am I targeting? I am going Dallas Goedert. You got a 29-year-old tight end. That is certainly very interesting to me. With this exercise, we're trying to target guys outside of the top 12, and no one else really interests me. I understand the Hunter Henry thing. I think I'm rolling with Hunter Henry and the league that Chris bamboozled me into taking over an orphan in.
He's your one good asset.
Yeah.
You have no idea how true that statement is.
Orphan teams are orphaned for a reason.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, Dallas Goedert, he missed a 3-week block middle of last season. He still finished as the tight end 14. The Eagles are so insanely committed to this 3 horsemen of the apocalypse approach at pass catcher. Like, it legitimately, who their starting slot wide receiver is on their depth chart right now? Britain Covey. And I did not make that up. He is listed as their starting slot wide receiver. So they have these 3 guys, and that's it. And they are going to pepper them with targets over and over again. And you take into account that the Eagles are getting a complete revamp to their offense. They're bringing in Kellen Moore. They're going to be running an offense that made Dalton Schultz to tight end 12, 13, and 11 from 2020 to 2022 in Dallas. I like Dalton Schultz, but Dallas Goedert is better than him in most every way. So, give me some Dallas Goedert. You got some serious, top 5 tight end upside there if he's staying healthy and if they're getting him into the end zone. But yeah, I would love to go out and purchase me a Dallas Goedert share.
Okay. You don't think Saquon's taking a lot of those targets from him?
I don't think Saquon's going to be getting 130 targets at any point.
123.
Yeah, just 123. And it's not like they didn't pass the ball to the running back. They just didn't pass it to one running back a lot. He is still one of the top 3 pass catchers on that team. You can't convince me otherwise, Chris.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just want to hear, what you say. I'm not trying to trigger you or anything, but it's kind of fun when you get loud. Rich, we're coming to you. The same question. What tight end are you targeting if you're
sure? Well, kind of branching off of that, the last time that I thought that Goddard was somebody that I really wanted to have on my team was when Doug Peterson was the coach of the Eagles. And so I'm going with the tight end that he is coaching now, which is Evan Ingram. Since Evan Ingram's got there, he's been a top 5 tight end the last 2 years. And with everything that played out in the draft and free agency and whatnot, he didn't move at all in the pecking order. And he's as consistent as they come, at least the last couple of years he has been. So I really think that Evan Ingram is going to be somebody that is going to win some championships this year. I'm actually kind of disappointed. I traded him away in a few leagues trying to find some other pieces, and I'm kicking myself right now. So.
Okay. Let me ask you this follow-up question, Rich.
Yeah.
If Justin Fields was Evan Ingram's quarterback, would you feel the same way?
Is Doug Peterson still the coach?
Yeah, Doug Peterson.
Yeah, no, I still feel the same way. I do. I really think that Doug Peterson is going to he's going to game plan that around Evan Ingram to get him the ball. Like, he loves his tight ends. He really does. He showed that when he was in Philadelphia. He's shown it so far while he's been in Jacksonville. That those top 5 finishes, which are the best that Ingram has had since his rookie year, right? So, I'm all in on that. Whoever Doug Peterson is coaching for tight end, that's what I want.
Okay,
you're not worried about a volume reduction.
I'm not.
He ran 617. Well, he played on 617 passing snaps last year and ran a route on 92% of those. That's 50 more passing snaps than the next closest tight end. You don't think drafting Brian Thomas and signing Gabe Davis and an actual healthy Christian Kirk is going to mess with that volume at all?
Gabe Davis blows.
Yeah. I'm not worried about Gabe Davis. I think that Christian Kirk was already there, and I don't think that anything's going to change with that. What was the other one? Who was the other
Brian
one?
Thomas.
Brian Thomas. Yeah, no, I'm not worried about Brian Thomas. The only thing that I'd be worried about a little bit is them talking about how they want to get Etienne involved more somehow. Like, where are those targets coming from? Okay, maybe those are gonna dip into Evan Ingram a little bit, but otherwise, no, I'm not too worried now.
Yeah, I think you're severely discounting Tank Bigsby right now.
Yeah.
Chris.
All right.
Chris Burns, everybody. He's playing the room all evening. Try the veal.
Tip your servers. Come on, guys. So, Howard, I'm going to come back to you and ask you about rebuilding targets. So, if you're didn't do so well last year and you had to tear it all down, are you targeting a particular type of tight end, or do you have one in mind?
Again, even tearing it down, the position I love the tight end position because it's very, very top heavy. And if you can grab one of those top guys, you do have a significant advantage. So I think if you're rebuilding, you got to look for youth, you got to look for opportunity, but you want to trim the cost down a little bit. I don't want to pay for, one of the top guys. I mean, the price on a McBride or a Dalton Kincaid is probably, just ridiculously obscene. Give me a little Greg Dulcich. All right, he's 24 years old. Who's standing in his way? He's listed second on the depth chart behind Adam Troutman, who's much better served as an inline tight end and a blocker. So if Dulcich can stay healthy, because you look at what they've got going on, you look at the scheme that Joe Lombardi runs, X receiver, if it's still Cortland Sutton, is going to get force-fed his targets. But even in a Joe Lombardi system where they usually force-feed the targets to the X receiver, they didn't really hit Cortland Sutton as much as, like, let's say they did with Mike Williams in, that Lombardi did it with Williams, or he did it with Michael Thomas in New Orleans for that matter. But, what we can also see is that there is a nice little affectation for the tight end. We saw with Jimmy Graham back in New Orleans. We saw a little bit of that with Gerald Everett. Now you're taking a guy like Greg Dulcich, who is a good, legitimate pass catcher. He does have some speed to him, and he could actually end up being the second in targets on that team. I mean, who are we holding out for here, on Denver? I don't even know. Marvin Mims. Maybe Tim Patrick will be healthy again.
Troy Franklin?
I like Troy Franklin, but Troy Franklin plays a different game, right? I mean, Troy Franklin plays a good speed game. I love the speed. And he and Bo Nix will do that. But, when you've got a rookie QB and that, he's going to have that relationship with Troy Franklin, that you're going to see a number of checkdowns because feeding the running back those targets is a big part of the scheme that Joe Lombardi runs. But that really still opens up the door here for Greg Dulcich to be one of the top pass catchers. And the dude's young. He just needs to stay healthy. That's obviously with any player, but that's where I'm going because I don't think he costs much at all. I don't know. What does DLF say that the equivalent is? 5th, 6th rounder? A 10th rounder?
10-round rookie draft is just absolutely evil, and Chris and I just did one of those, and it was heartbreaking.
Are we done yet?
I love those drafts. The "Are we done yet" drafts.
Again,
brutal.
Dynasty League football. He's worth 11 points. So,
what is that?
Late third round, early fourth.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll do it. I'll give you an early 4th for Greg Dulcich.
Yep.
So, Rich, what tight end are you looking for if you're rebuilding?
I was never part of the Cole Kmet club, and I was a little sad about that. But there's a part of me that's always liked Cole Kmet. The last couple of years, again, just going off the last 2 years, top 10 tight end finishes. So he's trending in the right direction. I am a little bit worried about the mouths to feed in Chicago right now, and I think that's one of the reasons why you'll be able to get him for a little bit cheaper. According to DLF, he is going at a mid to early 3rd round pick, so not quite as good as Dulcich, but you're still getting him at a pretty decent discount, I think, right now, especially for what he can do, what he's shown that he can do. Yeah, I think you're just going to be waiting a little while, and that's why I like him for a rebuilding team. Like if you're not competing this year, I think it's good to be waiting, and grabbing somebody that can prove himself later in the future.
Makes sense. Tyler.
All right.
Who are you liking, my friend?
That's a terrible look on his face right now. This is gonna be grimy. I can't wait.
That's what I do, Howard. So a little peek behind the curtain. Chris did a good job setting up our show sheet. He went in, threw in some suggestions. Jake Ferguson was in there. I threw Michael Mayer in there because I can't quit him, apparently. You had Luke Musgrave in there. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and go with Luke Musgrave's backup, Tucker Kraft. It's a even buy lower article here for Tucker Kraft. They basically played the same position for 2 halves of the season. Luke Musgrave was the preferred starter. He got injured. Tucker Kraft came in, played that position the second half of the season, played it better. He had a higher success rate. He had higher yards per reception. He had more touchdowns. It wasn't a ton. It was 2-1. But still, he caught 2 touchdowns. Luke Musgrave's 1 with 6 less targets. So, Tucker Kraft played better football than Luke Musgrave last year, as much as I love Luke Musgrave. So, people are very focused on Luke Musgrave being the kind of the popular sleeper candidate, I guess. And I will pass on that, and I will take his backup as of now and go Tucker Kraft, who DLF has valued at less than half of the value of Luke Musgrave. So I'll take my shot on Tucker Kraft.
What if I told you that he's going to miss this entire summer right up until the start of training camp with a pectoral issue? What if I told
that doesn't feel great?
Because I love the player, but he is dealing with that injury right now. I just saw a report from Matt LaFleur.
Is it a torn pec?
It just says a pectoral injury, so I'm hoping that it's just a strain, and they want to keep him around, so put him on the shelf at least through until the start of training camp and let him sit out. Let's face facts. OTAs and minicamp are bullcrap, right? You could spend the time with the team and glean whatever you need to glean. If you're in there for training camp, then I'm fine with that, right? So I didn't mean to piss in your Cheerios there, Tyler. It's my
okay.
bad.
I appreciate you doing it. Sometimes you need it.
Yeah, sometimes you need it. So
hydration.
It's sterile, and I like the way it tastes.
Oh my goodness, love you guys. So Howard, so we've had you here for a little bit, and I don't think we've talked about the Cowboys at all. I know that on your show, when you were at the GM, you have that counter, but I got you right now. I'm sorry, Howard, but Jake Ferguson is somebody that I really love, and the reason why I do right now is because, in Dallas, if it's not CeeDee Lamb, who else is it? I feel like they've downgraded everywhere. They haven't done anything to make the team better. Last year, Ferguson had 102 targets at the tight end. He caught 71 of them for 761 yards and 5 touchdowns. Dak, he's also playing for another contract, trying to prove to Jura that he's worthy. But yeah, if it's not CeeDee Lamb, I really don't know who else it is. So I feel like that it has to be Ferguson, right? Or is Schoonmaker? Is he still on the team?
Sure is.
He is. Yeah. I love the Ferguson call, man. Mike McCarthy has always been a big tight end guy. He likes it. Yeah, there was a joke in there somewhere, but I missed it. So, but either way, you date back to when McCarthy was coaching in Green Bay. Right. They had, tight ends that were legitimate tight ends back then. So, yeah, I think Ferguson's a great call because you're right. I don't know. They got rid of Michael Gallup's not there anymore. Brandon Cooks is okay, but he's good to miss a few weeks of the season. And I don't think anybody's really banking on Jalen Tolbert being the be all end all. So yeah, I love the Ferguson call, 100%.
All right, appreciate it. So now we're gonna end the show. We're gonna go with rapid fire. So how we're gonna ask you a couple questions, and you just tell me like who you're picking in this situation. All right,
I'm ready.
So at the end of the season, which of the following players is going to have the higher fantasy impact? All right, you ready? Higher fantasy impact. Kyle Pitts or Brock Bowers?
I got to go with Pitts. I mean, I like Bowers. I hate the landing spot for him, but I got to go with Pitts for this blossoming offense, hopefully with Kirk Cousins. Or did you just want the name and no analysis? I can do that.
I want exactly what you just did. I want you to give me whatever you want to give me, Mr. Bender. I'll take it.
All right.
All right. Aaron Rodgers or Daniel Jones?
Aaron Rodgers. Come on. Daniel Jones sucks. Come on. I feel bad. I feel bad for Malik Neighbors. I really do.
All right. Fair enough.
Yep.
Here's a tough one. Xavier Worthy or Rashee Rice?
Oh, you know what? Even with the suspension, I'm going to say Rashee Rice because I think he's got that relationship with Patrick Mahomes. Andy Reid, he's all about bringing the kids along slowly. He did it with Pacheco. He did it with Rashee Rice. By the end of the season, Rashee Rice was, he was fantastic because, there wasn't anybody else there. I think that Rashee Rice stays as Mahomes' guy. So I'll stick with the idiot behind with the driver's license.
Okay. So bonus question to that. Xavier Worthy or Sky Moore?
Oh, Xavier Worthy, no doubt about it. Oh my God, Sky Moore. Jesus.
When you said idiot with a driver's license, I don't know why, but Eli Manning just popped in my head.
There you go. My wife cannot watch this part of
56. Yeah.
All right. Higher fantasy impact. Bijan Robinson or Jahmyr Gibbs?
Oh, I'm gonna go with Bijan and hope that Raheem Morris knows what to do with Bijan Robinson. Like I get it. Zach Robinson has never, called to play, a day in his life. We get that, but I still think Bijan, he's the guy there. He's the only person in that backfield, or will be the only person in the backfield. You're not going to see Tyler Algier get that same share that like Arthur Smith gave him. It's going to be Bijan. And I just took Jahmyr Gibbs as in the first round of a best ball draft. So I like Jahmyr Gibbs, but I like Bijan more.
Okay. All right. And this is the last one. We'll get you out of here on this one. Higher fantasy impact. Roma Dunze or Jackson Smith and Jigba?
Oh, well, I mean, I don't want to make Rich feel bad about having just traded away JSN.
It's okay.
But I'm going to go with JSN because I do think that they kind of expand his role a little bit. I'm not saying, whatever, but, again, Tyler Locker, not the picture of health either. You've got a lot of growing pains there in Chicago still. And you're going to see it with Caleb Williams, and he's got DJ Moore, and, he's got, the other weapons there. So I think Odunze gets brought along slowly as well. So I'll say JSN is the guy who blossoms a little bit more. Sorry,
right.
Rich. Sorry.
That's all right.
I appreciate it. And that is another episode of the Dynasty 365. We want to give a major big thanks to Howard Bender for joining us at RotoBuzzGuy on Twitter, X, or whatever you call it. Make sure to follow him online. Howard, please tell the people where they can find you during the week and your content.
With any luck here at Fantasy and Frames on a regular basis here, because I love hanging out with you guys, man. It's definitely it's an absolute pleasure. And I guess shout out to Jorge Edwards, who, kind of, pulls the strings from behind the scenes and does such an amazing job with you guys. You can find me on the Fantasy Alarm Show, Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday with the GM Jim Bowden. You can find me all over the pages at fantasyalarm.com. You can find me in the New York Post if you like, reading newspapers still. So, and find me on Twitter. Here's my little handle there at RotoBuzzGuy on Twitter, on Instagram, wherever. I'm around. You can find me.
All right. We greatly appreciate you stopping by. And thank you to everyone who is watching on YouTube and everyone who's listening through the magic of podcasts, wherever you get your favorite podcast from. You can follow us on Twitter. He's Tyler Howe at FF Tyler Howe. He's Rich Sickles, the ginger beard man himself, at Rich Sickles GBM. And I'm Chris Burns. You can find me at Dynasty Deviant. You can visit us on the website, www.fantasyandframes.com, or subscribe to our show YouTube channel, or wherever you consume your favorite podcast. While you're there, please give us a like, comment, leave a review. Also, hit that bell so you're notified whenever new content drops. You can like all the Fantasy and Frame shows. We're Dynasty 365. We got you covered for your Dynasty needs. Fourth and Frames for redraft content. Shoot the Gap for the IDP content. And tune in on Thursdays for the Fantasy Football Weekly and the Draft Show. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys. Now let's go out there and dominate those leagues, and we'll see you next time.